Hello everyone. Today, I invite you to follow me to see how my day of filming YouTube Shorts goes. It sounds simple like filming a few short clips, but in reality it's much longer and more complicated than I imagined. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is not to brush my teeth and wash my face, but to check if the script I wrote yesterday has been saved. I swear, every time I name a file, I feel like I'm naming a software patch. On a morning with just enough sunshine to make people see life a little more lovely, my small team of Kindness House and I, with all our stuff, walked into the park like people preparing to set up a blockbuster movie, even though we were actually just filming a few cute YouTube Shorts videos about tiny acts of kindness that were enough to make someone smile all day. And from the very first steps, I had a feeling that today would be a day full of chaotic but memorable moments. As soon as we arrived at the park gate, the group struggled with the simplest thing: finding shade, because filming under the sun has beautiful light, but the crew was sweating. So the three of us stood around as if we were looking for Wi-Fi, but in fact we were just trying to avoid the sun, and I laughed and teased. This is Kindness House, not Sauna House, which made the group laugh, and then continued to carry the tripod and microphone deeper inside. The park in the morning is always full of familiar sounds. Birds chirping, cars running in the distance, the sound of a Qigong practitioner breathing regularly, and the sound of children running around, all blending into a natural background music that made the atmosphere of our filming much lighter. But life, the cuteness doesn't last long before unbearable elements start to appear. For example, when I had just finished setting up the frame to start filming the unexpected kindness scene, a mischievous yellow dog ran out of nowhere and stood in the middle of the frame, his face expressionless as if he were the main actor, and I felt both amused and helpless. The crew rushed out to coax the dog with sincere kindness, but he only cared about one thing: the bread I was holding. So the first scene of the day officially failed in a fit of laughter. However, that is why I love shooting days in the park. There is always something random that makes everything more lively. After a few failed attempts to get serious, we moved on to filming another segment. This time a happy sharing scene, which required me to walk up and give a small gift to a passerby, but before I could press the shutter, the wind picked up and the gift box flew out of my hand as if it wanted to go on its own adventure. I ran after it like a funny slow-motion scene in an action movie, and the cameraman laughed so hard that the camera shook. Luckily, I finally retrieved the box and the whole team unanimously agreed. This must be taken behind the scenes because it was so absurd and funny. These failed moments are actually the parts I love the most, because they are like a reminder that behind the creation of a few seconds of decent videos, there are a whole bunch of weird, cute, and memorable stories. In another scene, I intended to do a small but meaningful help, like picking up trash and throwing it in the bin, which seemed very simple. But as soon as I bent down, another gust of wind blew the papers flying everywhere, and I ran after them, picking up one piece after another like I was playing tag and chase. The cameraman was filming and shouting, hurry up, there's that one," which made me both tired and amused to the point that I had to sit down and catch my breath because I was laughing more than running. There were times when the background sound was so fake that the whole crew had to stop filming. For example, a man exercising nearby suddenly turned on the speakers to listen to some upbeat music. The music was so exciting that before I could ask for permission, I was attacked by sound, causing the microphone to pick up only the beat and not a single decent line of mine. I had to run over and explain with an embarrassed smile, "Uncle, let's film for a bit." Luckily, the man was very friendly and even teased, "Go ahead and film. I'll stand far away so it's not too confusing." This made everyone soften because of the stranger's cuteness. Then came the random interview segment. I was going to ask a young person about the most recent act of kindness they had ever received, but as soon as I raised the mic, they burst into laughter and said, "I was so nervous. You were standing so close to me. I forgot everything." And the whole crew burst out laughing, and in the end had to start over. But that moment brought a strangely warm feeling, because honesty always makes everything more lovely. But it's not just strangers who bring laughter. Sometimes it's the crew that causes it the most. My cameraman has a special talent for forgetting to press the record button. Yes, you heard right. There was a time when I acted very smoothly. Only when I finished, turned around and asked, "Are you okay?" He looked at me with guilty eyes and said the classic line, "Oh, haven't filmed yet." I froze for 3 seconds and then burst out laughing, because I knew there was no use being angry. In the end, I had to act again. This time I remembered to press the button but lost focus. And I joked, maybe the crew and I had a grudge in a previous life. The whole group laughed so hard that passers-by looked and laughed along. In between those filmings and mistakes, there were also unexpected moments that warmed my heart in the true spirit of Kindness House. Like when an elderly man approached and asked what we were doing. I explained that we were filming a video to spread kindness. He smiled gently and said, "Thank you, young people, for doing these lovely things. Life really needs it." That simple sentence touched me so much that I almost choked up, and I suddenly realized that even though the video was only a few dozen seconds, if a person felt happy or found life more lovely, then all the clumsy efforts behind the scenes were worth it. In the middle of being emotional, the cameraman said something that mercilessly ruined the mood. "Okay, just a little emotional. Now let's continue filming before the sun goes down." And I laughed and followed him to regain my emotions. But thanks to that, the atmosphere became more energetic, in the typical Kindness House style of both touching and chaotic. After nearly half a day of filming, we started to feel tired and needed a break. So the whole group sat down on the grass like 3 students skipping class, eating cakes and drinking water and telling random stories, from forgetting to bring spare batteries this morning to staying up late to watch movies last night. And moments like that made me feel like the crew was a real small family, a family that was a bit hyperactive but full of love. During a short break, I decided to film some natural behind-the-scenes footage. Scenes of the cameraman struggling to adjust the angle, scenes of the assistant running around looking for props that had fallen somewhere, scenes of me talking to myself to practice my lines and looking no different than someone giving a speech to plants, and scenes of the whole group trying to take a serious shot but then someone burst out laughing and had to start over. And I knew for sure that when those moments were put into the video, viewers would feel the sincerity and simplicity that I always wanted to keep for Kindness House. At the last scene of the day, the afternoon light fell gently, golden and beautiful enough to make everyone want to take advantage of filming as much as possible. I chose a quiet stone bench to say my final words about the message of kindness, but that quietness lasted exactly 30 seconds before a group of children ran past, screaming with joy and squeezed into the frame. I looked at the camera and laughed helplessly. Life really doesn't let me be serious for too long, and the crew said to just keep filming because the children's joy is also a form of positive energy. Finally, when everything was done, we packed up our things in a state of both exhaustion and joy to the point of not wanting to go home, because every day filming at the park always brought the feeling of living another meaningful day. Meeting friendly people, laughing uncontrollably, witnessing small but genuine moments of kindness, and most importantly, creating short but soulful videos with the crew. Preparing for filming sounds easy, but when you have to do it all yourself, you will understand it as a low-budget blockbuster. Costumes? Must choose one that does not clash with the background color. Makeup? Do it yourself within 5 minutes with a cushion box that is almost empty. Lighting? Must wait for the right time of day with beautiful sunlight to film. And I learned my lesson. Never film at noon if you do not want your face to be shiny like a ping pong ball. Setting up the camera angle? I only use my phone, so I have to add a stack of books, a pencil case, even a lunchbox to get a good angle. The pinnacle of creativity is when you can arrange a DIY tripod from 3 coffee cups and a notebook. When filming shorts, you only need 60 seconds for the audience to watch. But to get those 60 seconds I can film for 6 hours. Every line, every look, every gesture must be just right, not too strained, not too forced, and especially, not forgetting the words. Once, I filmed a scene where I said a line with exactly 8 words. I filmed it exactly 27 times because every time I said the 5th word, I forgot. I even named that scene the iconic fail scene, but it was fun, everyone. Because the more mistakes, the more I laughed. I had a scene where I had to be serious, but what do you think when I was being serious? The neighbor was drilling the wall? The sound of the drill sounded like the background music of helplessness. I filmed again. This time the neighbor's dog barked. Filmed again. This time the phone battery was low. Filmed again. This time, I laughed to myself while acting. And that's why there's a whole folder called bloopers to entertain yourself when you're bored. There are moments that weren't in the plan but became the highlight of the whole shoot. For example, the time I accidentally dropped my phone while acting out an angry scene, and the fall was so perfect that I kept the original shot as a drama remix for the main video. Viewers thought I had a shaky camera technique, but in fact, I just couldn't hold the camera. Or like the time I was acting out a sad scene, just when the sky was cloudy, the sun was setting, and the wind was blowing, the effect was like a movie. I stood there, looked at the sky, and a real tear fell. Because I hadn't eaten anything since filming this scene. I was so hungry. There are countless mistakes, but every time I make a mistake, I learn something new. For example, don't turn on the fan while filming. Your hair will become a whirlwind, and the microphone will only record a whooshing sound like you're in the middle of a storm. Or a lesson to remember for life. Always check to see if the camera is recording. I once acted out a peak emotional moment, then turned on my phone, and realized I had just pressed record after I finished acting. But it is these mistakes that make me feel closer and more true to myself. No one is perfect, and it is that imperfection that makes this journey fun and memorable. When making YouTube shorts, some people think that it's so short, it's easy to do, but only when you start, you will see. To make something short, but with enough meaning, enough emotion, enough uniqueness, is a big challenge. Each shorts video is the result of a series of days of coming up with ideas, writing scripts, filming, making mistakes, refilming, editing, cutting, adding, removing, then sitting alone laughing when watching the oh my god mistakes. I remember someone commented, "Your 60-second video conveyed my mood all day." And that's when I realized, it turns out that the days I spent rolling around and editing were really worth it. Making videos, whether short or long, if you don't have love for it, you can't sustain it for long. There are days when I film from morning to night, eating instant noodles for 2 meals, but just one positive comment, one smile from the viewer, is enough energy to continue filming the next day. Anyone who wants to make shorts, just try it. Even if the equipment is not good, even if you are not familiar with the camera, even if there are not many viewers, just do it. Because if you love what you do, others will feel it too. Thank you everyone for watching this behind the scenes video. It may not be as grand as Marvel's behind the scenes, but it is guaranteed to be authentic and a little funny. If you like this type of video, don't hesitate to leave a comment or like, so I know that there are people who still like to watch me, fumbling and falling off my chair while setting up the camera. See you all in the next official video, or in the behind the scenes video part 2.